Welcome to the Astronaut Arcade Podcast, where your space hosts Andromeda, Cowboy, Ranger, and Native Raider share stories, tips, and the latest information on anything video game related. Today, we're going to be talking about the Pokemon side of the Pokemon litigation team and their history. We hope you guys enjoy. Now, without further ado, let's begin the countdown. Too long. What's going on, everybody? It is me, Ranger, alone, all by myself, because nobody loves me. No, I'm just kidding. I got a guest in here today. He's helping me pick up some of the slack, because as you guys know, this is typically a 3-person podcast, and it is just not the same without at least 2. So I've got a good buddy in here. He's new to the Astronaut Arcade, but he's old in some of the other places. My man, Beef. What's going on, Beef?
Hey man, how's it going? Oh, not a whole lot. Just figured I'd keep you some company tonight. You seemed a little lonely.
It's really kind of sad sitting here planning for an episode and then loading up Green Room by yourself and then thinking, I guess I'll bring the bots in now. So I was real glad when I saw you get on, because I was expecting I might have to do this alone. Beef agreed a few days ago to get on with me, and it was coming up to about, I think, 10 minutes to start, or 10 minutes to time we were supposed to show up, and Beef was nowhere to be found, and I was like, okay, I guess I'll prepare.
Yeah. I like to leave him hanging. It's kind of like if you plan that first date for like a blind date, you wanna make sure you show up like right on time. You don't want them to think that you're needy.
Absolutely not. Absolutely not. I am showing up 30 minutes early, sitting in the parking lot for 10 minutes, going in, making sure the reservation is good, going back to my car for another 10 minutes, and then walking in 5 minutes early.
Yeah, no, not me. I got to make you wait for it. No, it's awesome that you asked me to be here, though. And in my defense, I gave him fair warning that I may or may not be a few minutes behind scheduled time, because life happens. But yeah, no, I'm very happy to be here, and hopefully I can contribute to the conversation. I can't fill the shoes of any of the official hosts, but hopefully I can at least fill a small portion of the void.
Yeah, absolutely. But how have you been doing? What's your past week or so been like?
Oh, this past week has been hectic. Work has been very busy. Obviously, for those of you who do not know me, I'm a mechanic by trade. I've been working on cars for about 8 years now, give or take. And yeah, it's this time of year is a weird time of year for the industry, and especially for me because they moved me, what's the word, laterally. Basically, I didn't go up or down, I just went to the side. So essentially went to a different position. So I went from customer pay work to used car work, so internal work. So essentially, I used to be the person where when you came in complaining of something wrong with your car, I was one of the guys who would work on it and figure out what was wrong with it. I am now the person who, when you trade your car in, or we buy vehicles from auction, or wherever they end up coming from, I have to do a full check over of them. So this just started a few weeks ago, maybe a month or so ago now. And with that, it's a lot different in terms of what my responsibility is. So when it was customer pay, I simply look over your car to make sure it's mechanically safe for you to be able to drive it. It's not a matter of I need to look at it and say, okay, like A, B, C, D, E, F, G, like, oh, the paint's chipped here, the windshield's got a couple little chips in it here, the kid puked on the back seat. Like, I don't need to look for stuff like that when the customer brings it in, because they should already be aware of that stuff. With the used cars, I have to look at every last little nook and cranny, everything cosmetic and safety related on the vehicle. So it makes the process a lot more involved. And I briefly explained this on the Power World podcast, but essentially, it makes the job take 3 times longer, and is a lot more mentally draining because you need to make sure that you check every last one of those little things, because that one little thing you don't check is going to be the thing that the customer comes to buy the car and sees and then complains about, and it ends up being a problem.
Right.
Essentially, you go to buy a used car and let's just say something stupid. So like I had one today. It was a Volkswagen. Not that that matters, but the passenger side mirror would only adjust side to side, not up and down. As a customer, you come in, you want to play with the mirrors, get everything set up for you to drive it, and that mirror doesn't adjust. Okay, well, that's clearly something wrong. What else did they miss? That's the first thought from the customer's perspective is what else did these people miss on this car? What else is going to be wrong with it? So it's fairly involved. But to sum up my week, yes, it has been very busy. There's been a lot of work coming through the shop, a lot of stuff to do. Um, yeah, in general, it's just been very busy. How has your week been, Mister Ranger?
It was okay. It wasn't crazy. Um, we had a couple of rough days at one of my jobs because we had one day where we have 10 people on staff for our department, and four of us showed up. And if you include our supervisor, there's 11 of us. Our supervisor also didn't show up. So we had 7 people in our 11-person department just call out that day.
Yeah, that's not ideal.
Yeah. And on top of that, we had freight still sitting on the floor from the day before. So what normally takes 8 people to do in a full day, we had half of that, but then we also had more work on top of it that was still there. So it was just a not easy day at all. Um, I stamp cigarettes Monday through Wednesday. So if you've ever picked up a cigarette pack, you know the little blue label in the bottom, little blue stamp sticker thing.
Um, I use pouches, but yes, I'm aware.
Okay, that's what we do. Is we run through a machine. The machine stamps them for us, and then we send them out to our stores so they can be sold. It's
Okay.
called a tax stamp, so it's so that they can be tracked and that the taxes can be tracked and so forth so on.
That way
Government
everybody can
stuff.
get their little hands on the pennies.
Yeah, exactly. So, um, I did. So one pack of cigarettes has, I believe, 20 cigarettes in it.
I'm gonna
I
take your
think
word for it.
I'm pretty sure it's 20. Um, well, and that doesn't even actually matter. So we'll just forget that I said that because I'm dumb. Um, one carton of one carton of cigarettes has 10 packs in it.
Okay.
So uh, each case has 30 cartons, and each individual pack inside of those 30 cartons gets a single stamp. So that means that there's 300 stamps per case. I I was by myself doing that on Wednesday, and I went through 344 cases by myself.
Wait, so based on what you're saying, essentially when you get all of that like brought into your I'm assuming warehouse that you work at,
Mhm.
um they just come in as individual packs and then you have to package them into the cartons?
No, they come in the cartons and they come in their cases.
Okay.
But we have to open the cartons. We have to open the cases, dump the cartons out, run them through the machine, and put them back in the cases.
Oh,
And
that
and the
seems
machine, well, the machine does a lot of that work for us. So the machine cuts open the box, and then we flip the cartons out, and then we have a machine that opens, stamps, and seals the cartons, and
okay.
then we have another machine that puts them back in the box.
Okay.
But you still have to like do some bits of it by hand. So it's a long process.
Yeah.
But yeah, 344 cases by myself, which is like 105,000 stamps or something like that.
That's a lot of stamps.
Yeah. Um, so it was just a long day, and I didn't even finish. Like I got close, but I didn't actually. So it was just a long day, and I showed up today, and there was still freight sitting on the floor from Tuesday.
Oh my.
So, but busted my butt today, got it all out. Everything's groovy. Our floor is clean when I left as of at 2 o'clock. So,
So what's the rest of your coworkers doing the whole week?
I think they're taking extra long poop breaks. And
Hmm.
then when they go to look at the freight, they look at it for about 30 minutes and then take another poop break before they actually come back and touch it.
Boss makes a dollar, I make a dime. That's why I poop on company time.
That is correct.
Huh. Yeah, that's not ideal. That's one thing I definitely do not get with my job because if I take too long of a poop, I'm losing money.
Hmm.
So it's one thing where, yeah, it's a stupid mantra that I live by. I respect the hell out of you for having a good work ethic because I'm assuming you get paid hourly.
Yeah.
The amount of money you make's not my business, but just the way you get paid. Because like for me, like I've told you before, I get paid for what I do, not how long I'm there.
Right.
So, like for me, if I think I gotta take a nice long poop break, I better bust my ass on the car before and after to make sure that I can justify taking that break.
Right.
Because if I get far enough ahead on work, then okay, yeah, I can take a break for a few minutes. But if I'm behind, I guess I'm holding it.
Yep. Yeah, and that's part of the roughness of being hourly is that while technically I am on the clock, I still need to get my job done. You know,
Yes,
and
and that's a good mindset to have.
and in my opinion, you're never going to move forwards, right? Like if you're trying to build a career and
Mhm.
they see you like taking 4 30-minute poop breaks in a day, you're probably not going to go anywhere
Yes,
because they
sir.
see that your work ethic is not there to actually promote you into management and move you forward to because if they see that they're going to say, oh, he doesn't want to do his job at the floor level, why would we promote him to a higher level where we need him to be there all
Yep.
you know so
No, it makes total sense. We see that a lot at the shop with so when you start in the automotive industry, if you have zero, like you can go into a dealership and start with zero knowledge or experience. Um, but with that, when you go in there, you start at what we call well, at least in my dealership, we call it the quick lane level. So you're essentially a lube tech, which involves basically oil changes.
yeah,
Is the majority of your job. You do an oil change and tire rotation on the customers who just want to come in and get out.
yeah,
Um, so with those guys, we actually have two guys in particular who it was within the last year, I want to say. Well, no, they might have been here about 2 years. But either way, they started in the quick lane department, and these two guys, they were hourly making whatever they were making, and they still didn't care what they were making. They would find any excuse they could to find something to do. They were they were busting their butt. They were trying to find any kind of work they could do. They were going to the boss, "Hey, what's the next thing? What's the next thing? What's the next thing?" While the rest of the oil change guys were just sitting over there playing on their phones. These two would just ignore them and their supervisor, who was also sitting playing on his phone, and just go to the next step up in the food chain, essentially, our dispatcher, and say, "Hey, what's the next job we can do?" And dispatcher would be like, "Oh, well, what does so and so say you should do?" And it's like, "No, I don't care what they say. I want to keep moving. Like, I don't want to just get paid to sit here. I want to do something." And those two guys very quickly went from being hourly techs to now, well, the one is not flat rate yet. He's still hourly, but they both moved to mainline and are working totally on their own within like 2 years. And that sounds like a long time, but in the automotive industry, to go like the one dude's not even 20 yet, he's 19. And it's a very rare work ethic to see in a lot of these younger guys, especially that we see at the shop. And
yeah,
like just seeing, again, this is all from my perspective. Your job and what you do is totally different. But um, when I see people who are willing to work hard even while they're hourly, and then like for me, you move to that point of being paid for what you do, which is flat rate, which if you work hard, you make more money. If you don't work hard, you do not make more money. So it's good to see, like especially with you hearing that you go in there, you bust your butt, you get stuff done, you do what needs to happen, regardless of what everyone else is doing. You still go in there and you do your job and you do it well. That's a very good thing to hear about from again my perspective of being paid how I am paid
yeah,
because I yeah, and I'm not proud of this, but I had about a 1 year break in between being flat rate where I went to a different shop and I was hourly. And my God, did it kill my work ethic. I was a lazy SOB for a that whole year. I did the absolute bare minimum because I was like, I'm getting paid if I'm just sitting here on my butt watching YouTube. So why not watch YouTube? And it was when I got out of that job and went back to being flat rate, it was definitely an adjustment period. But I'm so happy I did.
yeah.
But props to you though, dude, for busting your butt. Seriously.
I appreciate it. I think my supervisor sees it the same way because he's essentially at this point so there was a day he asked me. This is before I was working on cigarettes department. I kept telling him like, hey, if they need another person, I'll go over there. Hey, I would love to learn that. If they need another person, I'll go over there. I told him that like 4 or 5 times. And one day he's like, okay, why do you keep telling me that? Why do you keep coming to me when they're doing stuff and telling me you want to help them. I told them, well, firstly, I've finished my job for the day, and I want you to see that I have nothing to do, because that is a good thing that you see that I've cleared my work 2 to 3 hours before the end of the day.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's a good thing. Secondly, I want to take your job, and to do that, I need to be able to learn this entire department frontwards and backwards, every single section. And he looked at me, he was like, okay. The next week, he was like, hey, because we talked about it on like a Thursday, and he didn't say anything to me about it until the next week, and he said, hey, I've got you scheduled to be in cigarettes starting next week. You're gonna get
There you
full
go.
train. And he's since then he's been kind of grooming me for, management level. So
Good.
like I do things that he said he's never seen or heard of anybody doing at my level. So like, uh, you guys kind of deal with work as it comes in, but I'm assuming in the side that you're on now, there is a list of things, right? A list of cars that need to get looked at, and
Oh
you
yeah,
just move up the list from the oldest to newest, right?
correct. That's exactly how we do it.
So with us, we have to clear all of our inbound trucks every day, but we do have a list in our computer of what trucks are coming in at what times, and we're supposed to try and get them out in that order. Sometimes the truck is late, sometimes we don't see that it gets in the yard, so we don't call it in. Things happen, but I've gotten into the habit of, okay, we're done with this. I could let it sit here, or I could send it to the lanes and get it sent to the store today. I'm going to go check what our schedule is for tomorrow to see if it warrants leaving it here overnight, or if getting it out now is going to help us tomorrow. And he said, like, nobody does that. Nobody goes and looks to see if doing the work now or later is more beneficial for our workload. So he's seeing that I'm trying to learn and move forward and progress in my knowledge of the back end so that I can hit that position. So, but I think he's in a
Good.
similar boat like you. Like, he sees me working hard and he sees me doing it regardless of the fact that I'm one of the least paid employees on our team. And
No,
like
that's good though.
I outwork people on our team that are capped out.
Yeah.
So, it's a good thing to see.
No,
But
that's good, man. Like I said, props to you, dude.
thanks, I appreciate it.
It's yeah, that's yeah. We can move forward. I could keep going on that for a while, but
Yeah. Today's topic is not jobs that we do for a living.
although I
But
could fill the void with that if you want me to. We could bore
nah,
everyone to death if you want.
it's okay.
You
But
sure?
what about games? What about video games? Like, what's new for you in gaming? I know you mentioned to me in pre-show a little bit about how you, for the most part, have spent your time in Power World. But what are you like looking at as far as, like, are you playing anything new? Are you looking into new stuff? Like, what are you looking at for?
Power World has drained my life. Um, no, in terms of other games, I did attempt to give Throne and Liberty a try. However, I'm on a poverty PC that's like 6, 7 years old, and when I built it 6 or 7 years ago, it was a poverty PC. I built it with the bare minimum. I didn't even buy a graphics card. I got my roommate at the time's hand-me-down graphics card. So I needless to say, my computer could not play that game. Um, I made it through the intro, which was essentially single player. And as soon as I got to that first, whatever the heck it's called, big city, and it attempted to load in other actual players, my game turned into a slideshow. So I closed it and relaunched it, hoping that it was just some weird thing. It was not. Um, Turns out I had the bright idea of downloading it on my HDD, not my SSD. And so I tried re-downloading it onto my SSD, and it went from a slideshow to a game that would play. However, my computer could not process inputs fast enough. So essentially, I would go to open a menu. About 5 minutes later, that menu would open, and I'm not exaggerating, about 5 minutes. Um, it would open that, and then if I attempted to open any other menus in that time frame, I would then my game would crash. Essentially, it would try to load every single menu that I had just been trying to do, or all the other inputs I tried to do 5 minutes ago, all at once, and the game it just couldn't do it. So I gave up on that. Um, I did download Destiny a couple weeks ago, gave that a shot for a little bit. Um, don't know if that's a game for me, at least solo wise. If anybody were to invite me to like play it and want someone to come along that they could put in their backpack and carry, I'd be down for it. Um, Otherwise, I do play a good bit of Fortnite and a good bit of Rocket League with my stepson. Um, I do have, I guess, a semi. According to Bell and Native, my boy and I are like god tier at Rocket League because
Yeah,
we,
he told me about that.
yeah, we're not. We're not. If for anyone familiar with Rocket League, my boy's ranked platinum, I'm diamond, and that is far from god tier. It's just we're probably above average, I would say, um, but not much farther than that. So we play that, play a good bit of Fortnite. I have been looking into Space Marines, especially since I listened to your last episode. Because I listened to that, and in general, I've just seen across the discords people talking about Space Marines too. So I looked into that, and this was after my Throne and Liberty escapade. So I immediately went to check if the game could even run on my PC. And according to the minimum requirements, it would not properly run on my PC. So that game is out of the question. So I'm currently in the market for a computer. So I'll be getting there eventually. But I run into the struggle of computer or truck parts. Computer or truck parts. So
Well, see, I
that's
tell
where
you,
I'm
look
at.
at it as: do you want your relaxing downtime to be solo, or do you want your relaxing downtime to be with a bunch of really funny people that you enjoy talking
Well, you see,
to?
I still so so essentially what happens is I consider playing Throne and Liberty. I hop in to whoever happens to be playing the game, and I say, "Hey, can you live stream that on Discord so that way I can watch? Because I feel left out." And usually, whoever that person is will live stream for me, and then I'll sit there and watch someone else play the game, um, and I'll just live vicariously through them.
What you got
Um,
to do is you got to unplug your keyboard and then just pretend you're playing.
yeah, no, that could be an option. No, reality is my wife has. I got her the Xbox One or whatever the current generation Xbox is. I got her that last year, I think it was, for an anniversary or something, and she doesn't play it. It just sits there. It's right there. I can see it, and it's got a nice, actually very thick layer of dust on it. But I could literally just start that up.
Clean that before you start it up.
Yeah, I'm gonna need to. She usually starts playing come wintertime because she gets very cold, so she doesn't go out when it's cold outside. So that's when she'll start gaming. But um, I have been debating cleaning that off and trying to download Throne and Liberty on there and playing it on there. But I have a feeling what's going to happen is I'm going to download it, start playing the game, get hooked on it, eventually get a PC, and then be pissed because it won't transfer the information over from the Xbox to the PC, and then I'm just going to have to restart. But then if I wait until I get the PC, everybody's going to be done and bored with the game by the time I do get it. So do I get it? And it's just, yeah, it's an internal struggle of should I even bother?
Well, so like for me personally, when I play a game the first time, it's always a rough draft every time. So like right now, I'm playing Throne and Liberty here and there, and I really only have time to play one game at a time. So I kind of pick one for a week or two, and then I'll move to a different one for a week or two.
Yeah,
Um, but I when I play, so I have a character. I just did quick options, like everything was real fast, and I'm running a build that I think I enjoy, and I'm testing it. I'm trying to figure out how it works, what things I should be putting my stats into, what things I shouldn't be putting them into, things like that, right?
yeah,
And if for example, if you were to get it, I would start over a completely new character just so I could play with you at, you know, bottom level and grow a character that way. And I might play it differently. You know, I might use different weapons.
yeah. No, I get it. Sorry about that.
You're good. But yeah, so, I get the not necessarily wanting to start and the not necessarily wanting to, you know, get into it, fall in love with it, and have to restart and all that. But for me, I love doing that. I restart my games all the time.
See, I want to say like so. I agree with that on Power World. So like when we first had our issue with the server where we had to switch over, I was dreading it at first because I was like, oh god, I just put all this work in. I don't want to have to restart. But then when we restarted, it like totally reinvigorated my love for the game.
Yeah.
And I loved going back through it all and doing it all again and resetting everything. So that has been a thought, but yeah, I don't know.
It is a
I
little bit different when the game is kind of like quest oriented. Because
yes,
like, oh, I've completed 1,000 quests and I'm starting over, so I have to complete all of those exact same 1,000 quests again. I can see that
yeah,
being a thing.
yeah. And Power World, every single time you play it, it can be a different experience. So it's yeah, I don't know. I like I said, so I guess reality is if I was that worried about it, I would have already been playing it. Like that's the reality. But then there's the predicament of like I don't have an Xbox Gold account or whatever they even call it nowadays, Game Pass or Game Pass Ultimate, I guess is what they call it now. I don't know, but I don't have the monthly subscription with them, so I would then have to relog back into my account, pay for another membership, and do all that. Which reality is that's significantly cheaper than buying a whole new PC. But do I want to do all of that just to eventually end up buying a PC and then I have that account existing for nothing because I'm going to go back to not touching it again because I have a PC
Right.
now? So it's an internal debate, but I'll get around to it eventually.
The debate of immediate gratification or temporary unsettlement for a larger gratification later.
Yeah, and like I've been dealing like I've been using this PC, like I said, for like 6 years. It's played nearly everything I wanted to play. Nothing on optimal graphics by any means, except Bloons Tower Defense. But like it still does what I need it to, and I can deal with it for now. Um, I don't know. Eventually, if I get so motivated, I will get a PC, but it's just a matter of when.
Yeah. For me, I've been looking at games that I want to play that I can't afford to buy.
Such
And
as,
so Space Marines is one. Talking with Native about it really set my gears on fire to want to kind of dive into it because he said like, and one of Native's favorite things to say is that the ultimate end game is PvP.
Mhm.
And you know, the way he was talking about PvP with Space Marines, and like he said, the story was really good. And I like story, but I also like PvP. I like both. Um, so it's really struck a chord in me. Like I kind of want to play that. Like I really want to play that, and I just can't afford to spend the money on it right now. So
Yeah,
I honestly I should probably do that today. I'm gonna probably add it to my Steam wish list because they email you every time something on your wish list goes on sale.
yes.
So I'll probably add it to my Steam wish list and kind of start stashing $1 or two a week away until I can pay for it.
No, I get it,
Um,
man.
Another one is, uh, oh, what's it called? Monster Hunter Wilds.
Not a game that I ever got into.
So if by the time it comes out, because I believe it's coming out sometime next year, uh, if I can afford it, we should get it together and play together. Because playing with friends, in my experience, is the best way to play Monster Hunter because you have different weapons that usually everybody chooses. So you
Mhm.
actually form a team with different strengths and weaknesses. So
Yeah,
it's a really fun game.
I had a friend of mine get me into. You said Wilds, so I think it was Monster Hunter World or
Yeah,
Worlds, something like that.
World.
Excuse me, and that was years ago now. But he was like, "Hey, try this out, whatever." And I gave it a shot, but I, for me, I did not like the mechanics of the game. Like
Mm,
I like to be able to move around and actually feel very fluid in my motion. And to me, it felt, I don't think clunky is the right word for it. It felt very methodical. I don't know. It did not seem very fluid. And like I thought for sure I would like the game because if I'm not mistaken, if memory serves, I think it's the same people that made Lost Planet make that. I
think
think.
so?
I could be dead wrong, but I was really big into Lost Planet 2 when that came out. And I was like, oh, yeah, maybe I'll like it because I really liked Lost Planet. Um, so, yeah, I did give it a shot. I played for a little while. He took me out with him to do like a couple of the different like monster hunts or whatever they call them in the game. And like it was very visually appealing game, but it just wasn't. I don't know. I had trouble getting into it.
Yeah. Well, and like the fluidity of it is based on your weapon. So whichever weapon you choose will change the level of like movement you have.
Yeah, and like I said, maybe if I would have dug into it more, you know what? I may take you up on that. If this Monster Hunter Wilds comes out, you hit me up. Let me know. I might take you up on that. I gotta look into it, but I may take you up on that. I have been looking into, and I totally forgot to mention it, Satisfactory as well, because I
Yeah.
am a big fan of Factorio. I put a lot of hours into that game and had a lot of fun with that, and Satisfactory looks like a much nicer version of that. But I have a feeling with my PC, it's going to look very similar to Factorio if I try to play it.
It actually doesn't
Just
have very high
based.
requirements.
Oh, it doesn't. I haven't
No.
dug into it enough.
It's really good because it has low requirements, but they've basically maximized those low requirements.
Oh, okay. No,
Um,
I
and
have been.
that's another one that I do actually own. I don't have to pretend like I might be able to afford it. I own that one already, and I would happily play with you on that.
Well, then I'm gonna have to probably take you up on that because it has been something, and I should have just bought it when it was on sale, but I didn't. I was being cheap. But um, oh wait, holy cow! I might actually be able to play this. I'm looking at the requirements, and my poo PC actually meets the requirements.
Yeah,
Okay, hold on. Minimum requirements, not the recommended, the bare minimum requirements it meets. So it could at least run it. I don't know how
yeah.
it'll look, but it'll run.
Well, and
Oh, and it
like,
only takes up 20 gigs? Really? I thought it was a
yeah,
bigger game than that.
no, it's really nice for people who have um, older older machines because you can still play it. You might not be able to play it like at 100% perfect graphics and all that stuff, but you can play it and you can enjoy it just the same.
That, well, it's already on my wish list, so we shall see. If you push the issue with me about wanting to play it, I might just have to go ahead and get it.
All right, so my goal is
Because,
to mention it subtly like 20 times between now and the end of the podcast.
well, I'm hovering over the add to cart button, so
Hey, you
I
know what
might have
happens when you click the left mouse button?
to. Yeah, well, I don't need to make any alcohol fueled poor decisions tonight.
Okay, so it gets you more drunk.
Yeah, yeah, we're gonna get on that. No,
Um,
I have been strongly considering it because I do love automation-based games. That's part of like that's one of the big aspects I like about Power World. It's not fully automated, but there's a lot of automation to it.
yeah, I agree. But all right, so we're gonna go ahead and move into a little bit of housekeeping. I only have one thing here for that, and then we're also going to get into a guest interview. We stuck on our catch up a little longer than probably we normally do, but that's okay. There's only two of us. We have time. Um, but so our housekeeping, the one big thing is Cowboy is going to be out for a little bit. Uh, no clear definition as to for how long, but he did put in the Discord today to let everybody know his grandfather passed away this morning. So he's dealing with that, and he's, trying to be there for his family, and he's also got, as most of our listeners know, he's back in school again, and he also works a full time job, so he's got a lot on his plate. So I told him like, hey, don't worry about it. I've got this covered. We can run the podcast and you not be here. It is perfectly okay. Which I'm sure, as a lot of you discovered last week, was a partial truth, as I didn't get the episode out until Thursday night with technical difficulties. And Cowboy is normally the one that posts all those episodes for us. So, everybody, if you're listening and you haven't said anything, just go ahead and give Cowboy a little, hey, sorry for your loss, or, just something, shout out to Cowboy just to let him know that we're thinking about him and that we miss him and we want him back, but that we understand.
Yeah, my condolences out to you, Cowboy, and I do not. So I've never met you or Andromeda, but whatever you guys got going on in your lives, I hope it all. I'm so bad with words. I hope that. Well, I need to separate this, I guess, because I have no idea what's going on with Andromeda. I'm so sorry. I'm clueless. But Cowboy, my condolences to you, Andromeda. Whatever you're going through, good luck.
Yeah.
I tried my best.
It's the thought that counts sometimes.
Well, it was a pretty pitiful thought, but um, yeah, I tried my best. But
but
no, seriously, you guys will be missed. Hopefully, I get to meet you guys eventually. Um, but yeah, the time will come. Don't worry, your seats are still I'm just keeping it warm for you.
But let's move on to some more interesting and fun topics that are not going to make me cry. I say that. I think I know all of the answers to these questions. I still might cry. I don't know. We'll see. We'll get there when we get there. So, Beef, guest interview time.
Woo.
I hope you're prepared.
Nope.
You didn't get the list when I sent you these questions like 3 days ago?
Yeah, no. So he did not send me this list 3 days ago. He sent it to me about 5 minutes before we started recording. So uh, I have been grossly underpreparing myself for this because I haven't I haven't been reading over them to have an answer ready. So
Oh, hey, that's perfect. That means your answers will be honest and not rehearsed.
the second part.
So, who are you? What is your deal? Share anything and everything that you would like to share to the community.
So I already shared a little bit. I'm a mechanic by trade. My I guess just who I am. The only other thing that I typically really share is like as a family we like to go off-roading. So we have dirt bikes, four wheelers. I have a Jeep, and we take them out and just tear it up, have fun with that. We've been slacking with that this year because my boy has been very involved in baseball. So that's been taking up a lot of our time, along with various other things that come up because life happens. Um, but that's the typical stuff I do. So as of this year, my hobbies are going to my boys' baseball practices and games, working, and trying to survive. And then I get video game time in typically once we tuck him in for the night. So unless I'm playing with him, in which case it's just Rocket League or Fortnite typically. Um, yeah, that's me. Real exciting.
Yeah, it's sounds like your schedule's pretty tight. You got it kind of lined up at this point.
Yeah, it can be. And apparently the boys doing wrestling this year in the wintertime, which if you think baseball takes up a lot of your time, if you have any of you have kids that are into sports or were recently a kid that was in sports, um, yeah, it wrestling is going to take up even more of our time. It's a very time intensive sport to be a part of. So
Yeah,
we shall see how that goes going into the wintertime.
gonna get 2 weeks in and be like, I'm tired of this, Dad.
Oh, he won't be. I will be. I'm already exhausted and we haven't even started. So it'll be exciting. It's fun when he gets to wrestle. The biggest predicament of it is you'll go to like an 8 to 10 hour event or longer, depending on the event. And you're like, for us, our boy, he might wrestle 2, maybe 3 times out of that 8 to 10 hour event. And you have to be there because you don't know what's going to occur. Maybe his number gets pulled earlier and he has to go up sooner, or whatever could happen, could happen. And so, like, one of the times that he had an event, we drew the very short straw of got there first thing in the morning, like 7:30, 8 o'clock in the morning, and we're there until like 5 or 6 o'clock till he finally wrestled. So, yeah, I guess it's cool because you get to root on the other kids on the team or whatever. But yeah, it's not the same as when your kid's out there because that's the time it gets exciting.
Yeah. But what got you into gaming? Like, what hit you in the way of saying, you know what? I think I kind of want to do this thing. I like this.
So this is where we go back to where I said the first part of that was not true. Um, so honestly, what got me into gaming? Hmm, I don't know an exact start. Um, I would say the lack of the ability to go do anything. Um, like, because when I got like, I had tried video games when I was a wee lad, like PlayStation 2, GameCube, stuff like that. But I wasn't really like, I wouldn't say I was gaming on them. Like, I played games on them occasionally. When I got big into gaming was when my mom got me my first Xbox 360, and that was like a Christmas or birthday present or something. And got that, and I can't remember if it was Call of Duty 4 or Halo 3. Um, whichever one of those I got first, I spent like my entire life was spent playing Call of Duty 4 or Halo 3. Like I played a lot of both of those games. Now, mind you, this was back when I was in probably middle school. So what would that have been? 2008, 2009, somewhere in there. So not long after the games had come out, but that was when I got big into gaming. Um, that was the age of internet gaming, like playing online, multiplayer, stuff like that was becoming very big. So I'd say that's probably what got me into gaming, getting that first Xbox 360 and then playing big time.
Okay. I mean that it's very fair. Like I think a lot of people I've talked to about where they got their start, it's like, they played this game as a child, they fell in love with it, and they just started gaming from there. But like, not a whole lot of people talk about how like, yeah, I kind of just had nothing better to do, and I really enjoyed it.
Well, the honest answer of that was as a family, we were not in the position to, because it was just my mom. My dad was not around at that point.
Mm, that makes sense.
So she was working all the time. So by the time she got home, she never felt like taking us to do anything. So it was pretty much just me and my brother. And my brother has autism. So and he's high functioning autistic, but he's nonverbal. So it's not like he's going to
Mm,
sit here and have a conversation with us, but he can still walk around, do whatever he needs to do. If we tell him to do something, he can do it. But he's not going to sit there and have a conversation. So like for us, we'd be hanging out at home. Most of my younger childhood was spent just watching him. So I had to stay home. So staying home involved playing video games to give me something to do. And that's kind of just what steamrolled it. Now, if I really think back, there was one game that I do remember playing big before that, and that would have been on, I believe, PlayStation 2. And I can't believe I've never heard anyone on any of the podcasts I listened to mention it. Sly Cooper. Have you played that?
I never personally played it,
My God, you missed
but
out.
I know that it was really fun. So when I was a kid, I didn't have my first console was the OG Xbox, which came out around the same time as the PS2.
Mhm.
But I was an Xbox baby. I wasn't a PlayStation baby. So
Okay.
before Xbox, I had Nintendo games. I had
Okay.
the OG Nintendo. I had the handheld Nintendo. I had a Dreamcast. I had that. So
Hmm.
I never really got into the whole PlayStation gaming until I was a little bit older.
Yeah. Well, I would say I guess I started on PlayStation, then moved to Xbox because I stuck with Xbox the whole way through until I got a PC. It's somewhere in the middle there. I got a PlayStation 4. I think it's PlayStation 4. I don't know. I'd have to physically. Oh wait, it's sitting right here. Um, does it say like the number on there?
Usually they
4.
don't. It does say
PlayStation
four.
4. Yes, it does. So I do have that, but that was a very short stint of playing on PlayStation. I couldn't even tell you why I bought it. I think it was one of those things like somebody was getting rid of it, and it was like, here, give me like $100 for it. It's yours. Okay. So, um,
Yeah.
yeah,
So
but no,
follow up question though, did you when you started getting into gaming, you said you were watching your brother, did you like obviously being high functioning but nonverbal, you couldn't really like have a conversation, but did like you guys play games together? Like was that a thing that you did to kind of bond with your brother?
not on the Xbox. So I tried, but he could not grasp the concept of using the
Mm.
controller in that way. Um, but I can't remember if we had it before or after the Xbox 360. We eventually got a Wii,
Okay.
and he could, and I'd be willing to bet even to this day, he could poop on anyone in Wii Sports. I don't care what Wii sport it was, like Wii bowling especially. He's the only person I've ever seen, like other than probably some random person on YouTube, bowl a perfect 300 on Wii bowling, and he could do it consistently. Like it was ridiculous. Like and like with you, I know you said your son he has Down syndrome.
Yeah.
Like they're similar in the sense of they usually have something they're really good at.
Hmm.
And for him, his primary thing is puzzles. So like if you give him like 1,000-piece puzzle, he could have it done in a matter of hours. And he would start it from whatever the first piece was that he happened to pick up. He didn't build a border first. He would grab a random piece and start putting it together. He did not look at the picture. He did not look at the box. He would just grab a random piece and start putting it together.
That's insane.
And like I said, he's nonverbal. And there's one time in particular I remember that I believe it was 1,000-piece puzzle. And it's not like he told me he was doing this, but he was working on the puzzle and like he started it at whatever time in the day, whatever. I was doing my own thing. I was just at the house. And he finished this puzzle and I don't remember the exact amount of time, but it was an unrealistic amount of time. Like it was less than 4 or 5 hours was for 1,000-piece puzzle. He finished it and his hands were literally shaking. And one of his big things was if he ever finished a puzzle, or he also liked doing crossword puzzles, stuff like that. If he ever finished it, he would bring it to you. Well, a physical puzzle on the table, he would come grab you and have you come look at it.
Right.
But he was always very excited to show you. So he finished this puzzle, came and grabbed me, and he was literally like shaking because he like I think he just decided he was speed running that puzzle in particular because he just blew through it and had it completely done. And I was like, how? And it took till a few years into him doing the puzzles that I was like, hey, buddy, how about we try doing it this way? And I showed him like the trick of building the edge first, then building from that. And then he picked up on that and realized he could do that even faster if he did it that way. So he started doing it that way. He just by default started separating all the edges from the center, build the edge, and then he would just start throwing the center in. So yeah,
That's awesome.
it's a cool thing. Sorry, another tangent.
No, you're fine. I specifically asked the question to hear the story. Cool. So, what is your favorite game of all time that you played?
Of all time.
Like, if you could sit down right now, and this was the only game you were ever going to play again, what would you pick?
Oh shit. Well, if you put it that way. Um I want to say like my current answer would be Pal World just because I've been sucking it up. But all time I'd probably have to stick with that Sly Cooper though because that game was my childhood. Like childhood because I remember I was huge into Sly Cooper. And like that series in general was for me, and I can't believe nobody else has ever talked about it because like to me that game was fantastic. That whole series was fantastic. The first one, it was the first one, and if you've played the other ones go much more involved and there's a lot more you can do as a player. But the the overall story behind it, just everything in the Sly Cooper game, I freaking loved that series. So
We'll
I
have to
want
have
to
you
say
on in a
that.
future episode to talk
Yeah, eventually we'll get to the topic.
about. All right, Sly Cooper. What is your
Yes.
least favorite game that you have played? Something that
And
you
I
picked up, you tried it, and you put it down, and you know that if you ever picked it up again, is because you are hitting the bottom of the barrel.
ooh. Um, oh god, there's gotta be one there. Ah, it might oh god, I gotta really dig. Let's just move forward, and if I randomly remember it at some point in time, I'll say it.
Okay,
Because
sounds good to me.
that's what's gonna happen, because otherwise I'll be sitting here for the next 10 minutes.
So, main topic, guys, the Pokemon litigation and their history. So, as I'm sure a lot of people here know, uh, they have they're currently in a lawsuit with Pocket Pair over Palworld. But we wanted to kind of take a step back from that because a lot of the people here on this podcast, hosts and players included, um, we all really, really enjoy Palworld. And we wanted to kind of take a step back from that and just kind of look at the history of Pokemon and their litigation history. Unfortunately, being's the Power World lawsuit is so heavy in the forefront right now. It is very hard to find the other information. But what we did find is that one, the win loss ratio for Pokemon Company on lawsuits is like 95% plus. Like they have lost so few of their lawsuits that it is ridiculous. Um, like recently, they just won a lawsuit against a Chinese company that was blatantly using Pokemon characters in its game. The resource I have does not have the name listed, but they won around $15 million in the copyright lawsuit, which is insane. Um,
I found that same article, and the name's already escaping me. It was like I think it was called Pocket Monsters or something like that.
Pocket
I
Monster
found us.
Rescue.
I found. Yeah. I found a similar article about that. But again, this is the internet. That that could be very vague. That might not even be the correct title. But yes, I did read. There was a couple different articles regarding that.
Yeah, but I mean, and honestly, the description of the game, if this is the game that they just won that lawsuit on, which I think it is, it sounds really interesting. But it's a turn-based role-playing mobile game alleged to include characters such as Ash Ketchum and Pikachu.
Oh, if you look at the cover art for what that game used as their advertisement, it is quite literally Ash Ketchum, Pikachu, um, and there's two other starters. I don't know enough of the Pokemon names, but there was a cover art that it showed that literally it looks like it's a Pokemon ad. Like it's quite literally, it's not even like they changed the colors of them. They're the same colors, the same styling, the same everything. It's like they copy pasted it onto a different picture, and they're like, "Here you go, this is a different game." No,
That's ridiculous.
yeah. Again, that's just the one thing I saw. For all I know, that could have been Photoshop, but um, yeah, like if that is real and that's what actually occurred, what I saw is that company that made this, according to what I was reading, it was a straight up ripoff, like cut and dry ripoff of the the characters and the quote unquote pocket monsters. It was a copy paste ripoff, and they still managed to make, I think it was like $43 million off of that game. The company did. So then,
Mhm.
even them paying out that 15 million to Nintendo, they still profited off of
Yeah.
something they literally copy pasted.
Yeah, I'm
Like,
seeing 42 million in a single year.
yeah, like that's absurd. The fact like you could just copy paste and you still end up making out on the back end. Because like yeah, even if they go through all the legal proceedings, let's say they spent something ridiculous like $5 million to go through all the legal proceedings, they're still profiting. They still profited on the back end of that because I highly doubt that they paid their staff members the other however many millions of dollars for producing the game. There's no way. There had to have been a major profit margin on that.
Yeah. But beyond that lawsuit, they've also done a lot of cease and desists for fan made creations. And a few years back, the Pokemon company went and they wiped all fan made like ROMs and stuff that were stripped from their previous games, and they wiped them from the internet. Like I personally um, may or may not know of where to find them. Uh, just in case somebody reports me to Pokemon Company, I may or may not know where to find them.
DM me for more information.
Yeah, but like there was a fan project called Pokemon Uranium that was in development for 9 years that they were issued a cease and desist.
Yeah,
Um,
like
and then like there was a fan made Pokemon hunting first person shooter game that they removed all of the videos. The Pokemon Company removed all the videos of it and just basically took it off the internet. So yeah,
yeah,
they've had a fairly long history at this point of getting rid of games that have infringed upon their copyrights and with a very high success rate. And I think that is kind of fair. If they're directly ripping off the models, like if you open a game and it has Pikachu and Ash Ketchum in the main menu for this is your main character and your starter friend, yeah, it's kind of messed up. Like, don't do that.
yeah, we got Batch, Atom, and Rikachu. Yeah, no, you're pretty close there, Chief.
Yeah, and it's
Like
like if it's the same model and you changed a letter in the name,
I
yeah,
I
don't
have
do that.
no idea. Yeah, I have no idea what they changed it to, but it's just something that's stupid. Like based again, this is just what I was seeing. Like the company who did that, it's quite literally just like, come on, bro. Like you're asking for it.
So,
But
but
it's Nintendo's more than justified, especially in a situation like that where if what I saw was fact and it was just straight up copy paste, like okay, yeah, you're good. Go ahead and go after them. Like it's like why are they profiting off of copy paste? But like I will say like so I can see why they would go after like fan made ones, but the thing is like if it's fan made versions, like the one that I'm seeing here, it's it looks like your typical Pokemon battle screen, except you can tell that both the Pokemon or both of the whatever you want to call them that are fighting are clearly not your traditional Pokemon. There's something that someone else drew up in some capacity. Like this looks like the one looks like a ground type Charizard with two heads. Like it's it's interesting, but like I could see how they're justified in going after that as like okay yeah you're clearly trying to rip it off, but if it's fan made, like I highly doubt that fan made version is trying to claim that they're making their own entity. They're probably saying like, "Oh, this is my thoughts of other options for Pokemon." And they're
so
probably giving Pokemon credit for it if I had to guess.
I think the issue comes into like official things, right? So like if you do not officially have licensing to use those things and you do not officially say, hey, like this is a parody and all credit for all content on this game goes to this company, I think that can be part of the problem.
Yeah, you're probably right.
And then on top of that, if they say it's just a something they forgot to do, right? Like they fully intended to do it, but they forgot. Nintendo's taking it easy on them because that is just forgetting in the eyes of the law doesn't change the fact that it is theft of intellectual property.
Yeah.
So by giving them cease and desist orders, Pokemon and the Nintendo company or the Nintendo and the Pokemon company are taking it very easy on those people because they could just sue them into oblivion.
Yes, but
Like
reality is if they sue those people, those fan-made things, like that fan could be someone who has next to no money.
exactly,
Like it's not even worth their time. So it's just a matter of basically saying, "Here's a slap on the wrist. Stop doing this.
yeah, and
Save everybody a bunch of time."
well, and like it sucks to say, but if they wanted it to stop altogether, they put one person from relatively middle class into poverty, guarantee you people will stop doing it.
Yeah,
Like make an example out of one person, but also like I don't think they want to be that way. Right? Like I think they're trying to be understanding like, hey, we get it, you love this game. We get it, you have ideas. We appreciate your ideas, but this is our game. You didn't give us credit where credit was due, and you effectively stole our IP. So we're just going to give you a cease and desist. We're not going to sue you. We're not going to take anything from you. Just stop making this game. Right?
yeah.
To me, that seems like they're kind of taking it easy.
I suppose with the cease and desist, because if it is like, so I don't know what the technical jargon is for cease and desist, but logic says it's basically just saying, "Hey, stop doing this." The
Yeah.
law says you can't do this, so please stop doing this, so we don't have to waste a bunch of money.
Usually they don't issue one until somebody starts making money off of the product. So like if I were to take a picture of Pikachu, paste it on a t-shirt and start selling that t-shirt like by the truckload, I would probably get hit with a cease and desist because I am now profiting off of their intellectual property.
Yeah, without them getting a cut.
Exactly. Whereas if I were to call up Pokemon Company and be like, hey, I've got this great idea for a t-shirt, I have the means to produce it and produce it en masse. What would you guys like to sign in the contract? Like, can we drop a contract so that I can do this legally? If I were to do that, they'd probably say sure all day. Cool. You want to make more merch and we make money off of it? Go for it.
Yeah.
So
Huh. I'm actually reading a different interesting thing here. Apparently, now this isn't necessarily directed at the lawsuits, but apparently up until 2015, creating Nintendo-related videos on YouTube was a precarious affair. I'm reading from this article. Your videos were usually demonetized with all, that means 100% revenue going straight to Nintendo. Now, again, this says pre-2015. Again, and yet again, it's just an ad on the internet or a website on the internet. So don't take my word as gospel. But um, essentially, it came to a point in time where Nintendo came up with what they call the Nintendo Creators Program, where creators could earn up to 70% of advertising proceeds as long as the videos are approved by Nintendo. Huh. So, based on what I'm just that brief little thing I'm reading there, I'm gathering that Nintendo is like, yeah, no, you can't even create content about our game without our approval. Like, to me, that's kind of weird. Again, I don't, I feel like that's not accurate because I feel like there probably had to have been people making YouTube videos about Nintendo related games prior to 2015. I find that hard to believe.
they
But
probably also 2015 was still very early in online presence world.
I guess
Like
that
it
was.
had only been like what maybe 5 to 8 years people were starting to have online presence be a thing.
Yeah, I guess you're right, because that would have been right after I graduated high school. So yeah, like
Yeah,
Facebook was even still kind of growing when I was going through high school.
yeah. So like it could be just a we're not sure where this is going as far as the internet is concerned, and we're not sure whether or not this is stealing of our intellectual property by you putting the stuff out about. So I can see
Y-
that being kind of like a we're not sure what the line is on this yet. So maybe you guys should stop doing that before we have to figure out what that line is.
Yeah, like I feel like nowadays at this point, like game companies should be thrilled that people make YouTube videos about their game because
Oh, I'm
regardless
sure
of
they
if it's
are.
a regardless if it's a good or a bad review, that's still press for their game that they're
Yeah.
not paying for or putting any effort into. It's still press. Whether it's good or bad press, it's still their name getting out there. So somebody could be posting a YouTube video about how the latest Pokemon game was crap, and then the next person posts about how it's the best thing that's ever been made. And like, regardless, people are still seeing the name Pokemon appear even more and more,
Yeah.
and it's still advertising regardless. So at this point in time, I couldn't see any reason why they would care about that. But that was just an interesting little thing.
So what do you think about from what we've seen, they have apparently grown their litigation team drastically in the last few years. Um, they've had a lot more lawsuits going on and doing a lot more to protect their IP with removing all of the ROMs and hacks and stuff from the internet. So what do you think about that as far as the growth of the litigation team? Like, not necessarily. Yeah, I guess as from the company standpoint, like, what do you think that's about?
From the company standpoint, they're just trying to protect their IP. It's just a matter of we're now in the era of gaming where, like, obviously I'm not a person who can make a video game, but there are plenty of people out there who, hell, probably even just from watching other YouTube videos, have learned how to create a game in some capacity. So there's going to be more and more, and there's tons of indie developers and tons of other companies out there who are producing video games in general that are going to, at a bare minimum, take inspiration from other games that currently exist. So then there's going to also be companies like that one that we were reading about where they literally copy pasted the game and then changed a few of the actual like in-game features, I suppose. But they copy pasted their ads, borderline, or not their ads, their, I guess for them they called them pocket monsters, but they're characters in game or creatures in game, whatever you want to refer to them as. Um, so them growing their team, if I'm again trying to look at it from their perspective, it's just a matter of trying to protect themselves from potentially people, for lack of a better word, just stealing their money, is what it comes down to.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. I don't think it's necessarily a bad idea with the way the world is going. Kind of like you said, like people people will and can make video games in their homes a lot easier than they could 5 years.
Yes.
And the odds that somebody could potentially just steal their game, like if they take an old cartridge or even a new cartridge, strip the game, reprogram it, and send it out as their own thing,
Hmm.
then or modify it in some small way, like adding their own Pokemon or something like that. If they release it and sell it, no problem.
Yeah.
So I can see them, yeah, like kind of like a fighter starting out in like featherweight. They go and they hit the gym, and they get real big, and now they moved up to middleweight, and it's like I deserve to be here. But then you got somebody that's been in middleweight for years and years, and they're like, sit down.
Yeah. But
Like
like,
I've got you covered in all these bases because I've been doing this for years.
oh yeah. But no, like, just to go to like how easy it is for people to create games in general. So I don't know if you're into Minecraft in any capacity. I don't really play the game, but I really like watching. And you or maybe anybody listening has heard of Hermitcraft, which is it's basically a group of YouTubers who play Minecraft, and they have this massive server with a whole bunch of them on there, and they do all these crazy, big, amazing things. Well, the one YouTuber on there, his name's Tango or Tango Tech. Um, he made a game not in this current season. I want to say it was the previous season that he called Decked Out. Now, this game is entirely made within the game of Minecraft. It was all made to be essentially a mini game within the game of Minecraft. But like if you watch people play this Decked Out, it's like he made a whole ass game. Again, it was a game made within another game, so it's not like there's any kind of copyright or anything like that. Like he's literally playing Minecraft and just made something that he decided to call Decked Out that happens to function as its own standalone thing within the game of Minecraft. Um, I say standalone, that's probably a bad term, but essentially he made a mini game within the game. And like he was able to do that just with, in terms of Minecraft, they have redstone, which is like their electrical wiring of Minecraft, and he was able to make this entire thing function just off of how that game works. Now, this dude, I've listened to him on various different platforms, talk about like one of the things he actually wanted to do is be a video game designer. So that's why he took his Minecraft abilities and the time that he already has, because he already does do Minecraft for a living. And then he was able to also make that outlet of creating a video game that he wanted to create by essentially making the video game within a video game. It's gameception, essentially. And the dude did it fantastically. Obviously, I never played it. The server, I believe, has like some form of download where you can download the world or whatever and go in and play it yourself after the fact. But yeah, that just goes to show how easy it is to make a game. Like the dude made a game within a game. Well, not easy. Sorry, that's a very bad word because he spent literally like a year on this thing. How possible it is for people to do that.
Well, honestly, I don't think easy is the wrong word either, because you got to think most companies have 20 to 30 people working on any individual project at a time.
Yeah.
So if somebody by themselves took a year, how long do you think it would take for a company to make that exact same game from scratch?
Yeah. And I think you mentioned this either on your most recent episode or the one before that, where essentially Pocket Pair has had to remake the game for each of the different devices it's been available on. Obviously, their financial. I feel like it was you.
I think what we said was that they had to remake their game 3 times for the different
for the platforms.
No, not platforms.
Yeah. Oh.
No, it wasn't the platforms. It was they had 3 different iterations of the game for different.
I thought it was for the systems, for like one for PlayStation, one for Xbox, one for PC, because you have to change everything per console or per device.
No, it was for the crap. I'm blanking on the words. Essentially, the way the game functions, like the system that the game uses to function, like, I'm completely spacing on the words. Anyways, it's
okay. So I could be wrong. I could be wrong in how I was remembering that. But
if you guys want to know what I'm talking about, go back and listen to the Pokemon versus Power World episode. I'm pretty sure that's where it is.
I just remember hearing you say that. But yeah, no. Either way, to go back to the core question, what do we think about their growth? They're growing their litigation team to protect themselves is ultimately what it comes down to, and to protect their money.
Well, and then kind of following that up and rounding out our main topic, if they continue on this path to grow their litigation and like essentially sue or cease and desist everybody that comes within a certain radius of their IP, what do you think that does for the future of gaming as a whole? Like what precedent do you think that sets?
Is this where I can start vocalizing my opinion?
Yes.
So now we're switching over to my opinion, not trying to be politically correct. So my opinion is they're going to steamroll over the gaming industry because Nintendo's a titan and they have the ability to do so. Now, if this titan tries to go against the other titans, such as Sony or Microsoft, buckle up, Nintendo, because pretty sure Sony and Microsoft got a bigger bank account than Nintendo does. So they try to go down that rabbit hole, they're going to be up Fifth Creek without a paddle. So that's part of why I think they're playing a very dangerous game of, again, we're on the opinion part. That's why I think they're playing a very dangerous game of going after Power World, because obviously they have some grounds to stand on to an extent. But at the same time, like being a Power World player and being someone who has played Pokemon, yes, there are similar concepts, but the game as a whole of Power World, Pokemon doesn't do anything like it. You don't have survival aspects in Pokemon. Now, granted, I haven't played Arceus, so I don't know what all is involved in Arceus, because I know that's their open world version of Pokemon or whatever, which I've gathered through the grapevine was a train wreck. But
it's quote unquote survival light.
Yeah, well, again, what I gathered, it was an absolute train wreck. Even for people that I know that are like diehard Pokemon fans, they're like, yeah, no, it ain't worth your time. So yeah, there's that. But like Power World is survival, crafting, base building, open world exploration, like truly open world exploration. There's so much more to the game of Power World than just creature capture and turn-based battling. There's no turn-based battling in frickin' Power World. Power World, you throw your pal out there and you hope for the frickin' best. Like there's no there's none of like that like there's strategy to Pal World in terms of like what passives you put on your pals and stuff like that, but there's no strategy to like, oh, should I use this move first and then this move and then this move because this will apply this effect and this will do this. No, it's you throw the pal out there and you hope it does its attacks and you hope the attacks freaking hit. So like it's what does the future of gaming look like? Sorry, detour. Future gaming looks like there's not going to be as many people exploring the possibilities that they could have because they're going to be walking on thin ice worried about what the next lawsuit's going to be. And by this I mean those people that are trying to explore those new realms and trying to create these new things. Those people are the indie game creators, not Sony and Microsoft. Sony and Microsoft don't give a damn what Nintendo has to say. If they want to make something, they're going to make it. Nintendo's just going to bend over and take it. Like if Nintendo, like one of my biggest things with this whole lawsuit is Sony and Microsoft clearly already have their hands in the pocket of Pal World and vice versa. Sony and Microsoft both partnered with Pal World in selling their game and advertising their game and allowing people to play their game. Sony and Microsoft do not have Pokemon. They don't give a damn about Pokemon because it doesn't affect them in any capacity. It only affects Nintendo. So as far as Sony and Microsoft are concerned, if this lawsuit gets to a point where they're like, yeah, no, Power World's going bye-byes, Sony and Microsoft, if I had to take an educated guess, are going to step in because guess how many millions of dollars they're going to be losing by not stepping in and trying to defend Power World so that they can continue to make money.
We did the math in pre-show.
Yeah, we did the math in pre-show, and again, this is rough guesstimate. It was like $700 and some million Pocket Pair has made off of Power World alone.
That was just in the first month because that was the 22nd of February. That's not even including what they made when it came to PlayStation.
Yeah, so and if our math is correct, $700 million, that's a lot of freaking money. Like, especially for an indie game developer, which if I had to guess, their studio probably started on less than a six-figure budget. And again, I don't know Pocket Pair. They might have had even more because I know they've had other games come out. So that number could be totally wrong. But if you compare it in scale to Nintendo's budget to make a game, Pocket Pair didn't have it was like comparing a penny to $100 bill. They didn't have anything. And they still came out, dropped this bombshell of a game. Or was bombshell a good term? I don't know. I don't know how the kids talk anymore. But they dropped a very good game that came out, made a ton of money, a ton of sales, and had a ton of positive reviews. And then all these idiots come out there comparing it to Pokemon with guns. Like that was it's such a stupid thing. Yes, it's a very simple thing for people who are simple-minded to not understand the concept, but God, I'm running out of breath.
And I talked about this. I talked about my opinion on this in the Power World podcast because we did an episode on this, roughly on this topic, either the same or the next week after the lawsuit got announced, and it got announced on a Wednesday, so we did it the following week. Mm-hmm. But we had an episode on that, and what I think is probably going to happen is it's going to be in stages. If Pokemon Company and Nintendo win, they are going to effectively shut down the indie market in Japan, specifically because this is all happening in Japanese courts. It does not affect companies here in the US. It doesn't affect companies in China or Europe or anything like that. They're suing them in the Japanese courts. So it only actually affects Japan right now, at first. I think if other AAA companies see that they can get away with stuff like this and they can make it work and they can have this litigation team that just gets rid of all of their competition for even coming within a mile of their IP, they're going to start doing it. That's going to be worldwide. So I think I gave a rough timetable for what I was thinking over the Power podcast, but I think in the first year, the indie market in Japan will be dead. Within the first 2 years, the indie market around the world will be crumbling. And within 5 years, there will be no indie market. It'll be a AAA market, and we are all just going to be waiting to spend $100 on our next Call of Duty because that's all that's going to exist. And now on the flip end of that, if Pocket Pair wins this lawsuit, I think the indie market is going to be inspired. I think that they are going to grow, and I think the AAA companies are going to have to actually step up and use those billions and billions of dollars to create quality, high-end, next-generation games. And I think if Pocket Pair wins and they get a large settlement, they're going to walk gaming into that future of new features, new things people haven't seen before, uh, the next level of graphics, and the next level of gaming in general.
Hmm.
That is what I think, because when you sue away your competition and you have no more competition, you don't have to put out a good game. You can, like, if they wanted to, they could reskin Pokemon Red and put it out in the exact same format and do that for 5 years in a row. There's
Isn't
no
that what they've
stopping
been
them.
doing for the last decade? Like,
I would. I don't think so. They've added a lot of features and stuff. And I had this argument with somebody the other day. I think that they've been testing features and trying to find something that sticks and that works and that they like. But I think they've been testing and trying and doing things like that for too long. I think that's the problem.
I feel like this conversation was with me or on a podcast that I recently listened to because I feel
Quite
like I heard
possibly.
you say that same thing.
Quite
But
possibly.
um, yeah, no, it's yeah, the whole thing is just like I understand why Nintendo is doing what they're doing, but the petty part of me is saying that Nintendo's butthurt because Pocket Pair did it better than they did.
On a
That
smaller budget and made the same amount of money. Yeah.
yeah, and like Nintendo, I get it. Nintendo, so it kind of goes off of what you said about what would happen if they won this lawsuit. Like, Nintendo has already been the titan of their corner of the market. They have already circled and they've already controlled the creature collection market. Like they've already controlled that unless you play Raid Shadow Legends, which I don't know who the hell actually does. But like they've already controlled that market for literally decades. Like, uh, I think it's time for you to be okay with passing the torch on and letting someone, not necessarily passing the torch on, but don't
Maybe
be
letting
such a
it
dick.
maybe letting it go from a torch into a flashlight.
Yeah, like just let someone else do it. Stop being jealous that they did it better. Sorry. Like, you guys have had decades that you could have come out with this. Like, they could have made this same thing and just put a smidge of a twist on it and still had it like PG or whatever their goal is for their markets, which if I had to guess, their market's like E for everyone. I don't know. Don't quote me. But like, uh, it just doesn't make sense to me. I, well, it makes sense to me why they care because they're losing money essentially. Well, in their eyes, they're losing money because they're like, oh, these people are buying and playing Pal World. They're not playing Pokemon, so now they're not spending their money on us, blah, blah, blah. But the reality is, anyone that I've talked to that plays Pal World, but is also a big Pokemon fan, they're still playing Pokemon.
Mm-hmm.
They're not playing Pal World as a substitute for Pokemon. Pal World is its own entity. Nobody is going into Pal World to get that fix for playing Pokemon. They're going into Pal World to play Pal World. If they want that Pokemon fix, they go to Pokemon.
I've
Like,
actively been doing that whenever I have like a small amount of downtime. I'll pull up Pokemon instead of going to my computer and getting Power loaded.
exactly. That's my point. And like, yes, Pal World. So to kind of go on that convenience thing, Pal World, yes, you can play it on, let's say, if you had a Steam Deck or whatever any of those other computer, like PC-esque based handheld devices are. I'm sure you can play Pal World on it if I had to guess. But what's more likely to be in the homes of most people in America? A Nintendo Switch or a Steam Deck?
The Switch,
A
easily.
Switch, because guess how many people are adults who have kids? They don't want to buy their kid that 500 or however many $100 Steam Deck. They want to go buy the kid the $200 Switch because when it breaks in a few years, because the kid inevitably chucks it across the room for no damn reason, you can go buy another one for $200, and you're still in a better position than you were if you bought the other more expensive thing. Like, it's no different than like my boy, for example. We bought him a Amazon Fire Kids tablet, whatever. I could have just totally jumbled those words, but it was the Amazon Fire tablet. Like, if he watches YouTube on it from time, like when he has downtime, we spent like a fraction of the money versus buying him an iPad. Yeah, he has piss poor graphics quality, and nobody like. Yeah, but he's 8. Like, he's going to play on that tablet, and he drops it all the time. But guess what? That thing could take a beating.
Yeah.
And he's going to continue to have that tablet until he learns to stop dropping everything. So, like,
Apparently, he's got 20 years before he gets anything else.
Yeah, well, he's gonna have to deal with it. He better hope it lasts.
Dude, I still
So,
drop things on a daily basis. There's no eventually growing out of it. You just drop things less frequently.
bro, one of my weird things is I don't even lose a pen. Like I'm weird. Like I won't like this. So this pen right here, I've had this pen, and it's not out of ink yet. But I will not throw out or lose this pen until it is out of ink. I am weird like that. If I lose a pen, which I buy these by like the couple hundred pack, if I lose a pen, it ruins my day. Like it will literally put me in a bad mood if I lose my damn pen. And like so for me, like when he drops it, like I don't care. But anyway, the point of that is like Nintendo's already in the hands of majority of Americans. Pretty much everyone I've met, like with my boys baseball, wrestling, whatever, their kids, majority of them have a Switch.
Yeah.
Like they don't have a PC, they don't have an Xbox, they don't have a PlayStation, they have a Switch. And guess what's on a Switch? And only on a Switch? Pokemon. Like, why are you crying, Nintendo? Just let Pal World have their game. Like, and I pitched this to you before. Like, if if Pokemon's that intimidated by Pal World, why didn't you just pursue them for it from a different perspective of let's benefit everybody? How about you come up with some way? Again, this is opinion. How about you come up with some way that we integrate a few Pokemon into your game, and you can still be Pal World, but your Pal World, like I compared it to Rocket League and Fortnite. Obviously, Epic Games now owns both of them, but at one point in time, Rocket League was its own entity prior to Epic Games buying it out. I don't remember who they were owned by, but they were their own entity. So, like, if you play Fortnite, you go into Fortnite, and it features some of the aspects of Rocket League. You play Rocket League, you can get cosmetics that are based off of Fortnite. And it features both games. It's essentially advertising for both games. So if you have one, you're inclined to go get the other. Why don't they just do something like that with Power World and say, hey, throw a couple of our Pokemon in there. We'll come up with some cosmetics. Like, and I've said this before too. If Pocket Pair were to come out with, because obviously like the game's only $30. If they were to come out in say another 6 months to a year when the game's kind of run its course and they're getting closer to full launch or whatever. Let's say they go full launch. They go to 1.0. They go to 1.0. Obviously, at that point, like, yeah, people are still going to want to buy it. It's kind of like Satisfactory. It'll get a resurgence. People are going to want to buy the full release version. So, with that, you want to be able to continue to make revenue. That, like Fortnite, Rocket League. So, Epic Games, they make their revenue off of cosmetics. And people buy the ever living shit out of cosmetics.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I cannot tell you how much money that, like, us as a family have spent on my boy's V-Bucks. Like, and that's just to make him happy. So if we're doing that, I know there's millions of other families, even just in America, that are doing the same exact thing. Like, if Pocket Pair were to come out with something where even once a month they come out with a new skin or new variant for a pal, and they say they charge something minimal, like $5. I know me personally, if I like that variable, I'm gonna buy it. I'll spend that $5 to support the game. Absolutely. Now they make it something stupid where it's $20 for a skin, Epic Games, but like they do something like that. No, I'm not going to drop $20 just for a different pal skin. But you do something simple like $5. Guess what? You get 1 million people to spend that $5. You just made $5 million off of reskinning one of your pals. Like, and getting 1 million people to buy that, that's a fraction of their player base.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't be unreasonable. And let's say they put Pokemon in there. Oh, you want to have this new version of a pal that you got to go to some special vendor, but you can spend real money to buy this actual Pokemon for whatever amount of money. You buy that, spend $5. Pokemon gets $2. You get $3 because it's your game. Guess what? 1 million people buy that. You just made $2 million off of that, Nintendo. Stop crying.
Yeah.
You did nothing. Just let them have the damn game. Like that's that's my ultimate thing is just let Pocket Pair do their thing. They're doing it well. They're not trying to step on your toes. They're just trying to do their own thing. Why does it have to be a problem? Again, that's my opinion.
Yeah, I get that. So I think now, guys, we're going to go into a quick little intermission, and then we'll come back and we'll finish up and kind of close out the show. So stay tuned, and we will be right back. And welcome back, everybody. We are here to give you guys the best ending to a show you have ever heard in your entire hour of listening to this show.
Yeah.
So we don't really have any news and updates for you guys today. We don't really have anything new going on. And it's kind of funny. Our housekeeping has kind of turned into our news and updates, which is interesting, but I don't know. News and updates, I think, applies more to major things. So I think we did a news and updates an episode or two ago when PlayStation had released their state of the play. And I think that's kind of what we're going to pull up in our news and updates section. But nothing cool like that this week. So we're going to do some questions for the show because as we were getting ready to do this show today, we had like 4 questions come in back to back to back. So we have got questions. And Beef, what do you say we do like one apiece? Because we want to leave some for the other hosts.
Yeah, I'm down, man. I'm just along for the ride.
All right. You want to go first?
Sure, because this one's really I don't have a weird enough answer for it, but I like the question. So this first off, this question's in from Danger Powers. If 2 wrongs don't make a right, but 3 rights make a left, how many licks does it take to get to the center of a Tootsie Pop?
3.
The answer is the world may never know.
No, the answer is 3.
Oh, it's 3.
Yeah.
A 1, a 2, a 3.
Exactly.
Yeah.
That is actually how I eat lollipops.
You have a problem.
No, so I'll put it in my mouth and I'll let it sit there, and then I'll pull it out and I'll give it a good lick, and then I'll put it back in my mouth, let it sit there, pull it out, give it a good lick, and I'll
We're
do that
talking about
3 times.
lollipops?
Yeah, lollipops.
Oh, okay. We sure?
Absolutely. The other thing you're alluding to is not going to be very enjoyable if it's just sitting in your mouth.
You got to let it marinate.
Gross.
Yeah, no. The answer to that question is yes. That's what I mean. I didn't have enough time to come up with a weird enough answer. I was hoping to have some elaborate BS to feed you there.
Well, thank you very much for that
Yeah.
question, Danger Powers. Please send in more because I enjoy your off the wall questions that you put in here today. Let's see. Let's go with Gilded Rose just so we can have one of each. Is it scarier to think that you could make the wrong choice in something or that there was no choice to begin with?
Ooh, that's a deep question. If I had to say, probably that you can make the wrong choice in something. Because if there's no choice to begin with, I would assume I'm aware of the fact that there wasn't a choice to begin with. So you just got to deal with it. But I tend to get more nervous if I can make the wrong decision in a situation versus there not being a choice. Or it's just the fact of you don't know whether or not there's a choice. So, yeah, I'm gonna stick with what I said. What about you, Mr. Ranger?
Just for the sake of being antagonistic, I want to go the other way and say that it's scarier to know that there was no choice to begin with. So like imagine you live your entire life with all of your mistakes and successes just to find out that you never actually made a choice, but that you were pre-programmed like a computer to make those designated things happen. And you were designed to fail in certain intervals.
Isn't there a movie or a series of movies that refer to that?
Probably.
Isn't it called the Matrix? I've never seen them, but that's what I've gathered is the vibe.
Kinda, sorta.
Yeah, I feel
Not
like
really.
I feel like I committed a sin by saying I haven't seen the Matrix movies, but
Kinda, sorta, yeah.
my wife's gotten on me about it too. But yeah, no, I'm there with you on either side of it, but that is an interesting question. I like that one, Gilded Rose.
Thank you, Gilded. We love you being a moderator, coming in here and oh, excuse me, interacting with us.
Was that a sneeze or a cough? I cannot tell, and I
Yes.
watched it happen.
Yes. I had
Well,
a cough itching in the back of my throat, and then a sneeze happened.
well, bless you. I think.
So let's move on to our astronauts of the week. And yes, you guys are hearing me correctly. That is plural astronauts, because I have two very special astronauts that I wanted to call attention to. Our astronauts of the week are Ace 91189 and Gilded Rose. These are our moderators here in our Discord, and Ace is my roommate. She lives with me, and I know that she doesn't talk a lot in the Discord, but I know that she is in there anytime anybody posts anything, double checking behind to make sure that there's nothing foul or wrong going on in the Discord. And we really appreciate that. She is taking that time to do that for us. And then Gilded, on the flip end of that, is always in the Discord whenever anybody posts anything and is talking to everybody. And Gilded has been very involved with the front end of kind of being like the face of the mod team. And you always need at least one of each, right? You need a face of the mod team, and you also need somebody in the background that's just going to keep all the ducks in line, the you know needles in a row and all that stuff, making sure everything's on point. So thank you to both of you guys so much. We appreciate y'all here. You guys will have name changing powers for the rest of the week for the hosts. Please use them wisely. And then we have our streamer of the week. This is somebody who just recently joined the Discord, but I've spoken with him a little bit and outside of the Discord, and he has recently started streaming, and we just wanted to promote him, get his name out there. This is Rodimus Prime, and you guys can find him at www.twitch.tv/Rodimus Productions. Rodimus is how you spell that. He's a really good dude. He puts out good content. He has a lot of multiple podcasts that he does. But he's trying to break out into the streaming on Twitch thing. So give a shout out. We're giving a shout out to Rodimus here just to bring attention to that. I personally like supporting the new ventures of people that I know and care about. So Rodimus, congrats on being streamer of the week, bud. So outside of those things, Beef, where can the people find you in this lovely world that we live in?
So I don't actually create any of my own content. I just kind of get plucked from the bottom of the barrel to back you guys up when needed. Um, no, you can find me on the Astronaut Arcade Discord. You can find me on the Power World Podcast Discord, Blueberry Lounge Discord, Space Mafia Discord, or Elmer Fudd Games Discord. Those are the only places I'm really at. If you want to hit me up, feel free.
Awesome.
Where can they find you, Mr. Ranger? Sorry for that bad transition.
It's fine. You guys can find me right here in the Astronaut Arcade Podcast, the Astronaut Arcade Podcast Discord. You can also find me in the Power World Podcast and the Power World Podcast Discord. You can find me in the Blueberry Lounge Discord if you at me. I'm not very active in there, but I will respond if somebody is trying to get my attention. And you can also find me in the Space Mafia Discord.
So yeah, I guess before on that, I've been on a couple of Power World Podcast episodes. Yep. One on the Blueberry Lounge where you can hear me sing a very lovely song. Nowhere near as lovely as Ranger's episode on Blueberry Lounge. If anybody wants to hear his lovely singing voice, which, not even being sarcastic, his lovely singing voice, check him out over there. And then I've now been on this, so I'm branching out.
Making your way around.
Yeah, I do that.
Well, as always, thank you to all of you guys listening out there. We greatly appreciate it anytime anybody listens to us talk about random nonsense and about video games that we love and hope to share with you guys. If you get the chance, come join us in our Discord. It is a great place to be. We're starting to get more active, get a little more activity in there within our general chat and also with our question of the day. We've got an art channel and a food channel that you guys can just post food and art in, stuff that you're working on or that you enjoy eating. We've got a whole bunch of stuff that we're trying to get up and running, and we would love to have each and every person in our Discord saying, hey, what's up? That being said, thank you all for listening to the Astronaut Arcade podcast, where we take one small step for man and a giant leap for gamerkind. And don't forget, Pluto is most definitely a planet. We'll see you guys on the next one.